Okay, so I just read an article, and I'm sure you guys already know this, but they're going to be implementing something called Fed now, which is kind of like a precursor to the central bank digital currency. Have you ever watched someone do something that you know is probably not going to go very well, and you think, well, that looks kind of dumb. And for some reason, they're just not listening to any of the sound advice, all the warning signs that should be firing off. They don't seem to notice. This is kind of what I think is happening with central bank digital currencies, is that the water has been getting hotter and the frog just has not noticed this kind of incremental change and lockstep towards authoritarianism and tyranny. The central bank digital currency is some of the final nails in the coffin. The ability for a government to connect your financial data to, let's say, your social media or your medical, this is where things start to get very dangerous, and the idea of a sovereign individual or freedom starts to get lost through this kind of macro state technology, government-backed tyranny, effectively. And I think that what it reminds me of, and the reason why people so aggressively move through ideas like this, is because when we're in the action, unbeknownst to ourselves, we may be doing the exact opposite than our intentions. And this is weighed out by a really old quote that says, "The road to hell is paved with good intentions." And this is a really old quote. I looked up this morning. Erasmus, I think 1500 was one of the first times this variation of idea was written down. And it's important to recognize because it happens often. Take, for example, lobotomies, one of the Nobel Prize winning ideas about helping mental or psychiatric patients by shoving some shit into their eye and just squirreling around and mucking up the frontal cortex in the brain. We actually gave the Nobel Prize to people for that nonsense, and we effectively did way more harm than we ever did good. And a central bank digital currency feels like one of these road to hell paved with good intentions type of thought processes. We're like, oh, this is going to be great. It's going to be faster. It's going to be cheaper. It's going to be easier. So we're just going to shove something behind your eye, squirrel a little boo-boo-boo around, and all of a sudden, hey, frontal cortex doesn't work as much anymore, and you're a happy-go-lucky person. Isn't that great? Nobel Prize winning medicine right there in the 1940s. Took a long time, a very long time, for there to be a large body of evidence, and specifically patient-advocated physicians, people who were physicians who were going out of the way to be like, well, this did not help my patient at all. We shouldn't be doing this. It took about 2 decades for that to realize that we had just paved our way to hell. It's a barbaric thing to think that the medical community did. Okay, let's see. Can we find some other ones? DDT, great example. We were like, oh, this is going to stop malaria and mosquitoes, so it's going to spray all this pesticide over everything. And then what do you get? Birth defects, malformations of the fetus, a whole bunch of downstream negative side effects for cancer and liver problems. Oh, well, great. Okay, let's see. When else have we done something totally stupid in the name of good intentions and written a path in the opposite direction than what we originally intended to do? I don't know if this is on purpose. It seems to happen to everybody, but it's at scale. It's when many people start just allowing these things to happen that it becomes the worst. So the weird question here is, well, wait, a lot of people think to themselves, well, first off, a lot of people don't know the US dollar is not backed by gold or anything really. But a lot of people think we already have a digital money. And we do, for the most part. Your debit card, most people's Visa, MasterCard is the way they transact on the bank. Most of that appears to be digital to them. The infrastructure layer is not quite so much as digital as it could be. So this idea of oh, look, we're going to be able to get you your money faster. This is always how new ideas that seem great at the first little bit, hey, it's really cheap to stuff between someone's eyes and just squirrel around in that brainy part of theirs, and hey, they're better. It's super effective too. We can just do it on a weekend, pop, no problem. Done and done. And this is what I think is happening. The banks know that they're going to fail. The central banking system knows that it is going to fail. They know that they've run out of money for their long-term pensions, for their health care, for all the securities that they offered people for the years and years that they took out debt, and the politicians lied to everybody's face, point blank, about what they could get away with, and they just keep raising debt ceilings around the world. And right now, what's very important to understand is that Bitcoin will become the most valuable when your money is the least safe from governments. I've said this time and time again. Bitcoin is like a generator. If you buy it in the summertime when you don't need electricity and it's not super cold outside, yeah, you can buy a bunch of them. But if you need to buy a generator in the middle of winter and there's no electricity, I can tell you the price of the generator is going to go up significantly. You may not be able to buy it, just rent it, and then it gets much more complex. A good asset, what Bitcoin is a commodity for money, something that's a better choice than the US dollar. That vehicle will become the most valuable when it is the most important for you to have some type of freedom of money. And with the way Fed now and these digital central bank currencies are going, these are the first steps towards the tyrannical takeover of these governments and their monetary systems. And that, sadly, my friends, is when Bitcoin will become the most valuable, because it'll also be a time when it's the hardest to spend. So if you do get a chance to spend it on having a good time and being grateful for life, because I believe the period that we're going to go through could get significantly more difficult. Significantly more difficult. I don't know what's going to happen next. I've got a few videos kind of mapped out here over the next little while, but this is my kind of sentiment. I think the X-Files did a pretty good job. Like, if something bank collapsed on a Friday, news won't get out till Saturday. Everyone will be left waiting in lines trying to get their money out by Monday. There'll be some systemic error. People will be able to take their money. Oh, there's been a banking collapse. The Fed goes, oh, we got to jump in. We've got to save this. Hey, we've got this brand new Fed Now thing we've been testing. Tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take all the old dollars you had from that decrepit old system full of all those old parasitic bankers, and we're going to offer you this new system that somehow, because it's faster and cheaper, like a lobotomy, is actually going to be better for you. But it's built by the same people. Now, also, right, one really important thing, you have to trade all your old US dollars in now for this new Fed coin dollar, and it's only worth like 1/10 or something. Oh, and if you own Bitcoin, we're going to forcibly try to confiscate that from you. And don't worry, we've been tracking it a while, so we actually know many of the U.S. citizens that have it. So, hey, we're coming to chat with you. That's why we hired 87,000 IRS agents. These stories are, it used to sound like conspiracy hypothesis. That's what used to be the case. But now I think that anyone who just blindly trusts their government is the frog who is going to be boiled in the water. This is everyone should be paying very, very close attention over the next year to two, because things are going to change, and probably very quickly. Now, if they just stay calm like they have the last bunch of years, that's great. But something tells me that we're getting eerily close to a moment that we've long hypothesized. This banking system can't go on. You can't just keep printing debt and then giving that money away to people for bribes and corruption. It only goes so far. But on the optimistic side, because I want to leave you with some bright side here, is that, okay, we go through some rough times. It's a boop-de-boo for a little bit. It's the dollars break down. Most of the world's economy breaks down. Large swaths of people start starving, and then we start rebuilding. And what might be unique here is that if the governments stop being, or let's see, rather this way, if the criminals, because I think there's a lot of probably good-hearted people in government, just as there are in the police or the firefighters or healthcare. Generally, most people I've met in life, they want to be helpful and productive. They're not just trying out there to murder people. Although those people do exist, we can't negate that small percentage of people does exist. The majority of people are not under that light. So a lot of the times the mistakes that they make paving the road to hell in good intentions is done totally ignorantly. So you can't necessarily blame the people. And so how do we communicate this to them? And one of the fun things I think that happens is let's say these criminals stop being able to pay their criminal friends for bribes or the corruption or blackmail, whatever it is that's going on that keeps some of this stuff going on at the scale. As that collapses, all of these secrets start to come out because they just don't have control of the corruption mechanism anymore, because that's what the dollar largely was. If you see the break in this system, and a lot of the old secrets are probably going to come out. This could be hyper beneficial for our technology sector. I would make some large bets that technology is going to have a huge bull market in the next few years. Humanity is having a little bit of a downturn, it looks like, but technology is going to go maybe way farther than we are from here today. How quickly we got even to this point, like wireless mics. Like, I remember when I thought having a calculator that could send a message to someone was cool when the pager came out. And my watch can like GPS, and I can talk to it and it will write it down. Technology has advanced so quickly. I think that on the other side of this kind of dollar collapse, as long as you're on the right side of history here, because some places are going to have a rough time, a very rough time. Some places will start to find new ways to thrive. And that's what I'm looking forward to, is the optimistic other side of this conversation. So what is that? That's like 5 to 15 years of some weird, but there's a lot of room for upside if humanity can find its way back to aligning its actions and its intentions. Anyways, did I get everything I had written down here? Yeah, more or less. Oh yeah, I forgot. Oh yeah, prohibition. That was a road to hell paved in good intentions. The war on drugs. The drugs certainly won that war, as far as I can tell. That and the prison systems. Both the drugs, the cartels, and the prison systems all won that war. War on terrorism seemed to only create more reasons for guerrilla warfare and terrorism, so there's that. And here we are today. CBDCs, the road to hell paved with good bankers' intentions.